Gazzy Garcia, also known as Lil Pump, and Colby Covington were spotted practicing wrestling together. UFC President and CEO Dana White discussed Jake Paul in a recent episode of the Nelk Boys podcast. White talked about what might happen if Alex Pereira fought Jake Paul, noting that he doesn't see any way Jake Paul could beat Pereira, whether in the MMA or boxing. White mentioned that Jake Paul often brings up his and Alex Pereira's names just to stay relevant. He also stated that he doesn't dislike Jake Paul, but doesn't see any chance of him working together with Jake Paul in the UFC.
He did say, though, that the guy Chama, who's Chama?
Alex Pereira. Do you think that would fight?
I know it's dumb, but Pereira would kill him. Pereira would kill Jake Paul.
Pereira.
Who?
Alex.
Pereira.
Oh, my God, exactly. It'd be murder.
You think
That's
that
what I
fight would
told
happen?
Jake
Well,
yesterday. Murder.
What else I was saying about Dana, too, is like the
But
boxing.
how's that fight possibly going to happen?
I
That's just
wonder
not
if
going to happen.
The commission would even let that fight happen.
That's how
And
bad
are
it
you
would be.
talking boxing or UFC?
Boxing. He's
He'd
talking about
kick his
boxing.
head to
Kill him.
another planet. It would be...
We talked about this. Jake calls people out that he knows that aren't going to fight him, bro. Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now. So Jake calls him out, and Jake gets press.
Smart.
Jake says that I'm trying to assassinate him, and I said I'm gonna. It's all lies. It's not true.
But you think Alex Pereira is bigger than Jake Paul in the world today?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You don't?
I disagree with that, but I do think that he would kill him.
Nuts.
In the fighting
No,
world.
it's not a knock on you. I'm
around.
saying
In terms of name brand or selling pay-per-views?
depends who's running the whole ship. If he's running it, selling pay-per-views, probably on.
Well, wait a minute. He just. That's a great.
It is a great question.
You just. Who do you think sells more pay-per-views?
You.
Alex.
No, Alex.
Way more.
Oh, you
Alex.
Okay.
So when you're saying you disagree that he's bigger than Jake Paul, he sells
If you ask every human being on the planet right now,
400 times the pay-per-view.
Okay, perfect.
The Jake Paul fight that just happened didn't sell any pay-per-views.
So, and by the way, we just sat down with Jake Paul.
Yeah.
We just
I
sat
really
down with Jake
think
Paul.
there should
I defended your fighter pay thing.
Jake Paul says things for attention. You know what I mean? He likes to get attention. Well, Jake Paul's doing his thing. He's out there. He went out and lied and said that I said I would sign Mike Perry if he beat him. I've been trying to assassinate him. Tell Mike Perry. I haven't talked to Mike Perry. And I didn't even know Jake Paul was fighting. So he's saying all this shit. I was in Italy. I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have known
Jake
a
Paul's
fight's happening. I really
are all
don't.
the same. He fights older people that are smaller. It's all the same shit.
So, but what would Jake Paul have to do to impress you, where the conversation could actually happen?
Impress me. You just fought
Where he
Mike
can get in the room
Perry,
with
an
Dana.
older guy who's smaller than you.
Great. What could he?
It's the same blue.
So Dana, you would never consider like a Jake Paul or an influencer coming to fight in the UFC. Like that's just not a thing.
That's not what we do here. What we do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do. You know, what Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing. Who am I to say?
In a recent interview, Israel Adesanya, the former UFC middleweight champion, expressed his concerns about what he perceives as an intentional effort by the UFC to erase Francis Ngannou from the organization's history. Adesanya, who is known for being outspoken on issues he feels passionate about, didn't hold back in voicing his frustration. According to Adesanya, Ngannou's departure from the UFC and subsequent transition to the PFL Professional Fighters League seems to have been met with a deliberate attempt by the UFC to diminish Ngannou's legacy within the organization. He pointed out that despite Ngannou's incredible achievements, he said, "You can never erase Francis's history from the UFC. It's part of history. We need to fix this."
And I always support them as well. And also, you can never erase Francis' history from the UFC. I'll say that. It's part of history. We need to fix this. I don't like that. I don't like the fact we're trying to just cut out a really important part of history. It's silly. It's really silly. But we'll fix that. That's for later on. We'll fix that.
They announced Francis is making his return to MMA. So I guess a lot of people view him as like kind of the face of African MMA, just you know, from the UFC to the PFL. So I guess what's the response from his return that maybe you felt in Africa?
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for what he's doing. He just went through something that I would never wish on anyone. And, you know, we've talked, I've checked up on him. And again, I respect Francis so much. He's an integral part of what we've done in the UFC. You know, right now I know there's competition between other promotions and the UFC and battles, but again, you can never erase history because the streets, the internet will always remember no matter what. And I think they'll fix this eventually, but it's just a lot of chest puffing. But yeah, I think hopefully the UFC are smart people. They'll understand and they'll rectify this eventually.
Are you referring to that video clip that came out? That
not just that, just everything. Like, you know, just you can't erase Francis's legacy in the UFC. It's part of what we've done. You know, it's forever in history, in stone. So trying to whitewash it or just not talk about it is silly. And I know he's fighting for, you know, the PFL right now, but it's still history. You can't just turn a blind eye to it. So again, I'm sure they'll fix it eventually. This is how business goes with the UFC, and yeah.
Eric Nicksick, the coach of Francis Ngannou, remains hopeful about a potential showdown between Ngannou and Jon Jones. He emphasized the natural desire to challenge the best, stating, "How can you be in this position and not want to try to fight the best to ever do it? I've said this time and time again, I think Jon is the best to ever do it. As a competitor, how do you not want to try to compete against arguably the best to ever do it?" Nicksick also highlighted the role that financial backing from Saudi Arabia could play in making this dream fight a reality. He noted the strong relationships with Saudi partners and the UFC, suggesting that money talks and could ultimately help bring this high-stakes matchup to fruition.
You have one of these situations where both guys, everything is on the line, especially because they dislike each other so much. And if he can beat Izzy and bring that belt back to South Africa, obviously, we'll do an event there. And if Izzy can retain and win the title, it's huge for him and his legacy.
Can I just say, Israel, stop searching for my willy on the internet. It's weird. It's very freaking weird, man. Come on.
I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior, inferior. You know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't